Here we go. Coach Aubrey here, and this is part 2. So if you haven't checked out part 1, check out part 1. This is part 2 of open Q&A that I'm doing, and I got these questions from the women in my Facebook group. I asked them, what do you want to learn more about? And then we took a poll, and then I asked them more specifically, what topics do you want to cover? What questions do you have? So that's where I pulled these questions from today. I hope you get value. The main topics we're going to cover are nutrition with a little bit of mindset, as always. So if you get value from this, like and subscribe. I put out new content every week. I try to keep everyone updated, educated, motivated, so you'll get updates for my next video. Also, if you're a woman and you're not in my Facebook group, go ahead and send me a friend request. I'm just Aubrey Whitley on Facebook. The group is called Mind and Body Sculpting, and we have a fantastic group of women in there, and it's super positive. That's what I love about it. All we do is lift each other up. I also put free resources in there for training, nutrition, and mindset. I go live in there and do open Q&As in real time, and we also do some fun free challenges. So don't miss out on that. All right, let's dive in. So in part 1, not last week, we went over training mainly with a little bit of mindset on overcoming depression. So this time we're going to go over nutrition for the most part and throw in a little bit of mindset in there as well. So the questions we have for today are just general nutrition help. Help me. So hopefully this will. Specific timing for food, pre and post workout. So when should we eat our pre and post workout, and what should we eat pre and post workout? Great question. Mindset piece, how do we keep from getting caught up in negativity, especially when it comes from others? Great one. And then pre and post workout foods, like healthy options for that. How long do we stay in cutting and bulk phases? And how do we know what our calories should be? And then lastly, nutrition basics when it comes to gut health. So if you've got chronic bowel issues, or maybe you just have digestion issues, or you just want to know more, make sure you have a healthy gut, we're going to talk about that. So let's dive right in. All right, let's start with specific timing for food, pre and post workout. I'm about to drop so much in here that I normally only tell clients. So you guys picked a good video. Okay, not hiding anything here. I'm just going to get straight to it. Pre-workout, you want to really have that meal about 45 minutes to an hour at most before you train. Post-workout, you want to have that immediately. And I'll tell you why. The pre-workout is going to be your energy, and it's going to go ahead and fuel you and fill up your glycogen in your muscles to carry you through your workout. Okay? And then post-workout, your glycogen, which is what's pumping in your muscles to get them full and help them to grow, that's going to be depleted. So what carbs do, hint, hint, carbs post-workout do, is they help replenish that muscle glycogen, but you got to have them with a protein. So that's my answer for that. Post-workout, protein and carbs. Pre-workout, I would go for protein and carbs. You can get more nitpicky in there depending on what your real goal is for the phase, like if you're cutting versus bulking. There might also be some strategy with using fats in there, but that's an individual to individual basis. So if you do want to dive in more to that, send me a message. I'm always happy to talk. And if you just want help with your nutrition, send me a message. I'm happy to talk. But I'm trying to keep it general here so everyone can get something out of it. So again, 45 minutes pre-workout. Immediately after your workout, have your post-workout meal. But I'm going to add in something else. Your glycogen is going to continue to deplete. So about an hour after your post-workout meal, you want to have a whole food meal. When you have your post-workout meal of protein and carbs, don't be afraid of carbs, because your body in that state is using carbs entirely different than your body when you're just like laying around or taking a rest or not doing anything. So carbs aren't bad in case you have that fear. Use them, right? And then not getting caught up in worrying about the fluff. All right, this is real. I'm glad we're talking about this. Just recognize it for what it is, first and foremost. I've struggled with this before when I've gone through bulks. But what I do is I focus on what I'm getting from the bulk, what's benefiting me. It goes along with that negativity piece, not getting caught up in negativity. As soon as you start finding yourself picking apart the phase you're in, because you can really complain about either phase. Give you an example. You're bulking. I feel fat. I'm uncomfortable with all this weight. I have to eat so much. The list goes on. You can keep complaining. And then in a cut, I'm so hungry. I feel tired. I'm moody. There's, either way. So what you got to do is focus on the positives, what you're getting from that phase. So when you're bulking, your numbers are probably going up in the gym. You're probably getting super strong. Dude, celebrate that. Roll around in that. Love that. Get as strong as you can and show that off. Like I said, celebrate it. Write it in your logbook. You're getting stronger. Also, you have plenty of fuel coming in your body. So you have more energy for stuff. You have energy to play with your kids or to be around your family. So you're getting more out of a bulk. I'm assuming, unless you're like force feeding yourself, which you don't have to do, but if I'm not your coach, don't, you can probably sleep better at night. So just focus on the positives. And that comes to the same when we talk about people, like letting negativity in. You get to choose where you spend your energy. And I would highly suggest focusing on your energy, like pay attention to it. I coach my women on this. How do you feel when you're around certain people, certain places, and certain things? Those are like the 3 areas. Just ask yourself, get some feedback. How do I feel after I've hung out with this friend? Do I feel like I've gotten more energy and I'm excited? Or do I feel kind of like I'm stupid and worn down and my goals are stupid? If you feel that way, don't be around that person. Even if they're family, limit your time with them. You don't have to be around anybody you don't want to be around. I understand if you have a spouse or kids, yes, you have to be around that, but try to work on it. And you can influence people, by the way. So if somebody's being negative around you, you do not have to participate in the negativity. You don't have to stay on that track. Go ahead and focus on something else, change the topic, or better yet, say something positive about them. And it just helps that negative spiral to start going the other way. So places, if there's places that are draining you, even if it's your work, pay attention to that. That's your body telling you something. So that might not be where you need to be. So pay attention to that. And then things you do with your time. Energy is real. So just pay attention to what's giving you energy and what's taking away energy. And try to be around the things that give you energy. Okay. I wanted to mention one more thing about the building phase. Make sure you know that it really is in your head. When we look at ourselves in the mirror, if we've seen ourselves one way, we've seen ourselves really shredded, and all of a sudden we see ourselves with a layer of healthy fat and water on us, I know that can be hard, but just know you're not alone and everyone goes through that. And I want you to know that you're doing well, because there's so many people that don't allow themselves to put that healthy amount of fat and water back on, and they're breaking their bodies down. And as far as longevity goes, they're not going to make progress over time. You might notice some people that you see on stage, they look the same from one year to the next. They didn't have a good growth season. You have to give your body that time off. So if you look a little fluffy, you're doing well. I promise you. So hang in there and the cut will come. So enjoy the bulk while you have it. All right. The next question. Back to pre and post workout foods. So like I said, protein and carbs. You want to do a lean protein, generally speaking. So you might not want to have, let's say, steak before you work out. But again, there could be some positives in there depending on who you are with having a little fat around your workout. But try to choose clean sources always. Whole foods always going to be better than supplements. So, before you start adding in a carb powder, make sure that you're trying whole food first. That's always the best. But I went over the meal timing, and I think I have a menu in my group too that lists healthy proteins, healthy carbs. So just know what you're putting in your body. If you're not sure if a certain protein has a lot of fat in it, just check it, make sure. When you're looking at a carb, if you're not sure if it has a lot of fat in it along with the carb, just check it and make sure. Just know what you're putting in your body. And I'll throw this in here. If you're having fruits, the best time you can have them is around a workout. It's sugar, it's carbs. It's going to do what we have already talked about with the muscle glycogen. However, it does replenish your liver glycogen before your muscle glycogen. So there's sort of this extra step it has to go through before it helps your muscle growth. So it's not awful. You can still have fruits. If you're going to have them around your workout, but just know it kind of has a little extra process there. And when we get into the gut health portion, I do talk about fruits being good. So I'm not against fruits by any means. I'm just saying strategize where you have them. And then how do you know how long you cut or bulk? It depends on you. It all depends on you and your goals. I've known people who have bulked for 2 years. That's a bit long for me, but a solid first growth season, in my opinion, is a year. It depends on what your goal is. If your goal is to step on stage and compete in women's physique, you need a serious growth season. So take your time. If your goal is to build a little muscle and then cut down for the summer, you might not have to go as hard for a full year. So it really depends on the person. So I would say if you're really serious about this and you're not sure, get with a coach. I'd be happy to talk to you, of course. And if I'm not a good fit, find someone who is that can really get one-on-one with you on your goals and make sure they're teaching you along the way. You don't want to always be reliant on a coach unless you're planning to compete forever. But, you want to learn this stuff for your body, not just in general. I will say you don't want to stay in a cut too long. Like I was saying before, a lot of people love how their bodies look in a cut. But if you stay, especially in a very rigid cut for too long, your hormones will get thrown all out of whack. Your bone density starts to decrease a little quicker. You're going to lose muscle. You're going to feel worn down, and your mental health is probably going to struggle as well. So don't stay in a cut too long. And the idea for going in and out of these phases, cutting, growing, is one, you want to be able to eat more food when you're in a cut each time. Your metabolism should be improving as you go. So your first bulk, you probably won't be able to eat, or you shouldn't be able to eat as much food as you will in your second or your third or your fourth growth season. So don't try to do a quick fix where you want to hit, this goal of going to the Olympia in a year. This is a long sport, and even if you just want your body to get to a certain point, give it time and consistency. I feel like I sound really preachy right now, but I just get really passionate about this topic. And when it comes to calories, again, it's an individual thing. It really is. What I always tell people to do is, say a lady signs up with me and she wants to know how many calories she should be eating. I don't even focus as much on the calories. I'll tell you exactly what I do. I have her log everything that she eats for a couple days to a week, and I look at that and I'll figure out the calories per day that she's averaging. But a lot of times I don't even change the calories she's in because there's no magic number. You can go to a calorie calculator online, but there's no magic number when it comes to this. So it's kind of where science and art meet at their finest. And then what I do, once I see how much food she's been on, how many calories she's at, all I do is I re-percentage those. So I take, for example, I might take 40% of her calories and put those to protein. I might take 40% and put them towards carbs on certain days, and then take the 20% and put them towards fats. And then if you're consistent on that for long enough, you're going to know how your body's responding. So say you stay on those macros for 3 weeks and you still feel like crap, like you're super full, you're going to the bathroom constantly, like you hate food at this point because you're eating so much, cut the calories back. And again, that's where a coach will come in handy if you don't know how to do this stuff. So for example, depending on what your goal is, you might need to make a call if you want to pull out carbs or fats to cut more calories, and when? You know, do you do it on training or non-training days? It all depends on who you are and what your goals are. Generally speaking, I would say, you know, go for cutting carbs and fats before you go for cutting protein. And if you're really trying to build, try to keep as many carbs in there as you can. So maybe take some fats, you know, out of your training days, or, you know, it really is an individual basis. So I'm so sorry. It's hard to describe. You know, or if you're bulking and you want to keep your insulin sensitivity high and, you know, you're super full and uncomfortable and you know it's just too much food for you at this phase, you know, maybe take all the carbs out of your rest days and just have proteins and fats. So there's so many ways to do it, but the best thing you can do is be consistent on whatever macros you're on to see how they're working. And on top of that, have a plan for those. So don't just try to hit macros in a day. Like, know when you're having your first meal, your second meal, your third meal, pre-post workout. Get on a schedule with that stuff, because that all affects your body. It all matters. So you can get as nerdy as you want with it, but just remember it's your journey and no one else's. So I do suggest, if you're working with someone who does copy and pasted plans, I wouldn't work with them. Like, some coaches will just print off copies of training plans and give them to a bunch of clients. To me, that's so messed up. Like, everybody's different. And same with nutrition. You can't copy and paste nutrition because every body is different. Like, your physical body is different. So you got to find what works for you. I hope this helped. I know I jumped a little all over the place. Okay, so I'm going to end with nutrition basics when it comes to gut health. This is something I have come to really value more as I get older, because I'm not just out, you know, at it for the aesthetic part anymore. I want to live a long time. I want to be healthy and I want to feel my best. So when it comes to gut health, there's some things you can think about. First of all, if you're watching this, you've already probably got a jump start on your gut health, because exercise, eating clean, those are great contributors to a healthy gut. And think about the gut as the second brain. It's crazy how important it is. It sends signals to your brain constantly. Actually, 95% of your serotonin is produced in your gut. I mean, take that in for a second. Serotonin, like the well-being chemical, right? Not dopamine, not surges of dopamine, but serotonin, where you're in a state of well-being over a long period of time. That's produced in your gut. Like, it sends signals to your brain to let you know how happy it is. So that's why they call it the second brain. It's constantly in communication with your brain, letting it know how much energy you have, if you're happy or sad, you know, what your heart rate feels like. I mean, everything. It knows everything. So it is really important. So healthy lifestyle. You can throw some basic supplements in there. Like, a probiotic is always going to be great. It's sort of like throwing a multivitamin in there, you know, with our lifestyle. It just kind of covers your bases. Also, you know, there's some things like turmeric and ginger that are known to be natural remedies to kind of help that gut health be level, so to speak. And when you think about bacteria is not bad, by the way, but too much of one type of bacteria or not enough of another, that's when your gut starts to suffer. So the idea is you want to be balanced. You want to have balanced gut bacteria. And so variety is important, which I'll get to in a second. But as far as supplements go, healthy omega-3s, super beneficial. You get those through things like salmon. You can take fish oil pills to supplement, or just straight fish oil. There's also, what is it called? Is it cod oil? I'm sorry, I'm drawing a blank right now, but make sure you're getting enough omega-3s. So I would say if you struggle with gut health, have a couple servings a day. It's going to help. I'm sorry, I shouldn't say that. Generally speaking, it will. And berberine is something that I've thrown in for clients who tend to have bloating issues, especially around carb meals. If you have berberine with your carb meal, then it helps break down those carbohydrates better in your stomach, in your digestion. And when you think about gut health, it's all about taking nutrients in and turning them into energy or waste. that's in a nutshell what gut health is. So if any of that is affected, like your energy sucks, or you're not pooping, you're pooping too much, that's all gut health. It's all tied into the gut. So variety is super important. Recently I read, I'm really big on empirical evidence. Like I like when a lot of studies are done on things, because there's so much information out there now that you don't really know what to listen to. But I read this study where it talked about having 30 varieties of, it says fruits and vegetables a week is ideal for your gut. But I read a little deeper, and what we consider fruits and vegetables in like the bodybuilding fitness world isn't necessarily what the article meant. It also talked about starches. So as long as you're getting variety in things like potatoes, rice, sweet potatoes, and then maybe you can use nuts and seeds, that can be part of your variety. So all the different nuts and seeds. And then you've got, different types of berries, you've got bananas, you've got all types of vegetables, especially green vegetables. You have a lot of options there. So it just talks about getting at least 30 different types of fruits, vegetables, starches, basically things that come out of the ground, all right, every week. So I've tried that too, and it's actually not that hard, just so you know. And I'm somebody who basically eats the same thing every day just because it's easy, but that I've been able to do without much like change. So anyway, staying hydrated, really basic, but I can't tell you the number of times someone's like, oh yeah, I drink water all the time, and I come to find out they're having like half a liter of water a day. So try to have, I'm going to challenge you, have 1 ounce of water per pound of body weight. That's a decent start. But seriously, especially if you're training hard, you need to stay hydrated. Exercising, eliminating processed foods sounds obvious, but do it if you're not, to help. And then saturated fat can affect that. So if you could eliminate that, that would be awesome. But if not, just do it in moderation. Saturated fats are going to be things like butter. It comes in steak. It comes in, let's see, things like peanut butter, some oils, certain nuts. Just check what's in your stuff. Don't have too much saturated fat. Okay, and then the last one I'm going to close with, and that is stress. I am a firm believer that stress is a direct link with your gut health. When you lower your stress, your gut health improves. It's all tied in. Our thoughts, feelings, emotions are tied into our physical body. So I'm sure you've experienced this. If you've gone through grief, your energy's low. Or if you're stressed, you feel like you're in that fight or flight mode all the time. Your body is in tune with how you're feeling and what you're going through. So make sure you find ways to decompress. It really is important, and it gives your gut some time. If you're constantly in a fight or flight mode, which a lot of us live in, the gut is signaling that to your brain. So it's not producing as much serotonin. In fact, it's probably producing a little more cortisol because you're stressed all the time. So your cortisol is getting jacked up and down and up and down. So give yourself breaks. It's not selfish. It's part of taking care of yourself. There's a big difference in being selfish and taking care of yourself. So just take care of yourself. And quick fixes, ashwagandha, take magnesium every day if you want to. Most of us are deficient in it. And don't feel like you have to be everything for everybody. Just take it easy. Give your gut a time to repair, and give just yourself the gift, right, of enjoying life. Like, don't move so fast that you're not enjoying things. I'm rambling, so I'm going to end here. I hope you guys enjoyed part 2. And again, if you're not in my group, go ahead, add me on Facebook. If we're friends, let me know and I'll add you to the group. Like and subscribe if you got value from this. And I would love in the comments to hear any future topics you would like me to go over. So until then, stay strong. Love you guys, and I'll see you soon.